It's Eddie J on Crypto for GrowMyBag.tv. Hope you're having a good one. What's good? What's good? What's good? It is a good day. It is absolutely a good day. We've got some news. We've got market movement, although sideways. We still don't have clarity on Venezuela, just a lot of bluster. We still have issues with regard to Greenland, which I got to say, I don't believe that should happen. Economically, it's a bad decision, to say the least. It's a horrible decision, to say the least. And why do I say that? Well, because we'd be going up against our NATO partners. It draws the line in the sand for our country, from an economic perspective, from a political perspective, just from every perspective you can think of. And that would have a profound effect on our bags. And some people are like, oh, you're overstating it. The United States could be found to be standing alone if they decide to do that. If the country decides to do that, we could be standing alone. Does that sound good to you? I'm pretty sure that does not sound good to anybody, because we all know what that means. And that is the economic impact. And I don't know if you're paying attention, if you're keeping score, or keeping a tally would be a better way to say it. But there are skirmishes around the world that aren't exactly skirmishes. Russia, Ukraine, more saber rattling by China with regard to Taiwan. The United States has invaded Venezuela and threatening other countries. The UAE and Saudi Arabia are at conflict right now. At first it was in Yemen. Now it's looking like it's going, they used to fight, side by side in Yemen, and now it looks like they're going to opposite corners. There is a lot of strife around the world. And those are just a few, mind you. Those are just a few. Okay? So, yes, I'm paying attention to all of this, because it can affect our bags, whether it be directly or indirectly. We really should be paying attention. Now, something that caught my attention that just, it doesn't have me baffled. Well, does it have me baffled? The fact that we don't have a response yet has me baffled. India continues to purchase Russian oil, which is to be expected. They're partners in BRICS. Yet they're asking the United States to remove a 25% tariff. Does that make sense to you? Because to me, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be totally honest with you. To me, raise the tariff on India. If we are, if we've got a problem with BRICS and India's trying to play both sides, I don't know. I mean, I'd have to obviously look at everything, but it's going to be choose a side, and India could lose economically in a huge way, because India is where not everybody, but so many companies around the world go to for their technology staff when they outsource or when they offshore. That's a problem. That's a massive problem. So the amount of money that you make is due to outside business, and put the right pressure on, and you could see things happening with BRICS. But with the United States moving the way it's moving, we don't really have a lot of allies. So I think that we need to stop starting trouble and start thinking about more strategic moves in a more diplomatic fashion, because certain perspectives might be true, but how you go about things also matters. And I'm looking at my bags and I'm like, wow, that's going to be a massive problem. Massive problem. It's like I said, I don't know that, what we're doing is good or bad in some cases. What I do know is that we might want to do it a little bit differently. We might consider doing things a little bit differently. India, and crying about a 25% tariff doing what they're doing. I don't know. Come on, India. Are you serious with that? Are you serious with that? Maybe you should rethink what you're doing and how you look at it. Something else that I know is XRP became the third largest cryptocurrency by market value this month. Just what, yesterday, day before? Yeah. And it is all over the banking system. I still see people that are amazed by this, and I'm still trying to figure out why. Before they got dragged into court and raked over the coals, they were already all over banks. Those ties were still there. So do I expect XRP? Do I expect Ripple to take off? Yes, absolutely. Do I expect it to be a part of the backbone of the global financial system? Yes, absolutely. This is one of the reasons why our e-commerce platform accepts XRP. Just saying. So yeah, I see why it's like that. Something that did shock me, different topic. XAI was looking to raise $15 billion. They were able to raise 20. Cisco and NVIDIA are two of the major companies putting into that. And you're kind of like, huh? Good morning, Rick Ritchie. Thank you for letting us know you invested in yourself, my man. So, more cyclical, but Elon's a little bit different, right? Because he's building out his own data centers. He's making deals for his own chips. I think NVIDIA is hedging. And OpenAI, I think, is going to have problems. How are you promising all this compute? What is it, $1.4 trillion in compute? Excuse me. How does that happen? How does that work? I don't see it. And sometimes I look at OpenAI's approach to things as pie in the sky. I'm just going to say it, pie in the sky. Because the code as it is now, everybody's yapping about agentic AI. And I'm sitting there and I'm just going, no, this is normal software development with an additional tool that can do certain things well and other things. My company, we do agentic development. And we've come to that conclusion that, well, if you're performing a regular search, right? Regular functionality, and it's only correct 30-40% of the time, you could look at that as being cool, yes, because it can do certain things very well. Let's not even play with us. I was like, can do certain things very well, but other things it can't do very well. The whole idea of thinking, AI doesn't think, it calculates. Remember that. It calculates. And those same calculations give you right and wrong answers. This is what we need to remember. And people aren't thinking like that. So this whole idea about agentic development, I'm like, do you people even know what that is? Because if you do, this is not it. That's why that guy who won the Turing Award, which is basically the Nobel Peace Prize for AI, that quit Meta and is looking to start his own company, he's looking for a $3 billion valuation. I'll be shocked if he doesn't get it. Because he's like, yeah, that right there is not quite it. And he's saying, I think that this is the way to go about it, and here's how I can prove it. It's going to be interesting to see how that company plays out. That's going to be interesting, because that would also be something that would turn that industry on its ear. Yep. Just saying. Pay attention to little things. Little things are not necessarily little things. One guy leaving a company is not necessarily a little thing until you recognize who that guy is and how many people that guy is going to attract. That's the big one. That's the big one right there. So I'm very interested in what that gentleman is going to do. What else do we have? We've got Ethereum's second blob parameter only, BPO, hard fork increased blob limits to enhance data throughput and stabilize gas fees. Yeah, greater capacity is what that means. Ethereum is a part of the backbone. It's a part of the connective tissue that I keep talking about. It's a part of the connective tissue. It's so many things build on. Everybody's like, oh, Ethereum doesn't make money and blah, 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 blah. Ethereum needs to make enough money. Enough to sustain itself. Enough. I believe it does that. And it's getting better. It's not a business, it's a project. And I think that's where people go awry with, some of these looks. These are projects, not businesses. Some of them are businesses, and that means you should be looking at them differently, right? Is your coin the primary thing? Is your blockchain the primary thing that you're going for? Or are you running a business masquerading as a coin? These are questions that I ask when I'm doing the whole tokenomics thing. Those are answers that I'm looking for. And it's not like they can raise their hand and go, oh, we do this. No. You have to gather up all that information and come to your own conclusion, which is why I say practice the GMB3, right? Do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. These are not like little, carnival ideas. Those are real deal tools that I'm laying out for you. NVIDIA's Vera Rubin AI platform, yeah, ready to rock. Already in production. Just saying. NVIDIA's like, no, it's in full production. They're already receiving orders. Now, I know that there's Chinese interest in the H200, so I think that's the name of the chip. But I believe I read on CNBC that Trump has said no. So I'm gonna have to find some, see if there's more clarity to what's going on right there. But I know the Rubin chip, 5 times faster, 5 times cheaper. That's going to be a big deal. That's going to be a very big deal for a lot of companies. And let me tell you what that means. That's going to equate to a lot of companies doing things in-house, which is why I look back at an OpenAI and their business model and go, yeah, that doesn't seem to work going toward the future. There are so many LLMs out there, specialized, general, that just do what companies need them to do. Why would I pay for OpenAI at the prices that they're looking for when I can run them locally more effectively and more economically? I'm telling you, I think OpenAI has problems. They've got problems. They have rust on their armor. Not as shiny as it was. Just saying. Pay attention to these things. What else we have? MSCI reversed its plan to exclude digital treasury companies, DATCOs, digital asset treasury companies, from major indexes. Guess what? That's why you saw strategy pop up yesterday. That's why you're going to continue to see some of these treasury companies pop up. Why was that? Well, the market went up. So you'd be kind of silly to remove some of these when you see the market going up in that space. That wouldn't look right. That'd be kind of stupid. Yeah, just saying. The American Bankers Association, something to be paying attention to. The American Bankers Association criticized the Genius Act for potentially restricting bank deposits and harming small businesses by limiting interest payments to stablecoin holders, despite FDIC's December 2025 approval of stablecoin implementation and industry support from Coinbase. The problem is that there's a small problem within the Genius Act that needs to be fixed, and that's really what they're saying. It can hurt some businesses. Sorta. Hurt small banks. What's more, Tether launched Scudo, a gold-backed digital token priced at $4.48 per unit, with XAUT token backed by 16.2 metric tons of gold and a $2.3 billion market value. Wow. That's interesting. And they're facing competition from the likes of Paxos. We were talking about this last night. Paxos. Who else was there? Give me a moment. Sorry about that. Lost my place in my notes. There you go. Paxos and Audit Scrutiny, while claiming 116 tons of in reserves. 116 tons of gold in reserve. We were just talking about XAUT and PaxG last night. This is why. This is why I brought it up. Do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. Keep your nose in the news, because keeping your nose in the news gives you a spot where you can actually start to look at pieces of information that you can see that, oh, that's a pearl of information. Let me keep that. It's helping you separate the noise. And that's the idea, right? You absolutely want to separate from the noise. UAE Rack Bank received in-principle approval for an AED-backed stablecoin. Yeah, that's big. Aligning with the UAE's digital economy framework, joining initiatives like FAB Bank's ADI chain and Dubai's government service crypto trials following its 2025 retail crypto trading via Bitpanda. I told you, pay attention to the Middle East. Pay attention to the Middle East. They're looking far into the future. Far into the future. Pay attention. Wisdom Tree withdrew its XRP ETF S1 registration with the SEC amid a 3% price drop. It had nothing to do with anything other than they choked. That's how I'm looking at it. Wisdom Tree was like, maybe we shouldn't do this. They've somehow formulated a different approach, a different opinion, and they pulled their S1. I would like to know why. We can speculate. I would like to know why. Officially. Barclays invested in Ubix, a U.S. stablecoin clearing platform, following its $10 million seed round, signaling a strategic shift after restricting crypto transactions, with Ubix aiming to create a global network for regulated digital money. One of my new friends, Steve Wasserman, is involved in working with Ubix. He advises companies on how to work with Ubix. Interesting. There are a lot of things that are happening, a lot of things that we should be paying attention to, and this is one of them. The rails are changing, meaning how value flows around the world is changing. The only people that need to catch up, retail. Retail needs to start understanding that this is how money is going to move. This is how value is going to move. Once that happens, that will be a big deal. Yesterday, we announced that OnePay, a provider, so a service provider to Walmart, is going to enable Bitcoin checkout at Walmart stores. Just remember, that's them. That's not Walmart. Walmart didn't say jack. That's just a company that's providing a service to them. Walmart has not fully embraced Bitcoin just yet. We need a couple of retailers, not just the platforms, right? Like Shopify, not just the platforms like Rebel Reach, my company, not just the platforms enabling you to accept crypto. We need retail stores to raise their hand and say, yep, they have that service, we turned it on. We need that kind of full-throated backing. That's when you'll see retail actually pick up. Because retail is curious. It took a long time for people to start playing around with credit cards, right? A lot of stores are like, we don't accept credit cards here. Cash check, no charge. For a long time, it was no checks, it was cash. Yeah. People running around bouncing checks because they didn't have the technology that we have now. Just saying. But You know what we should do? That's right. We should get into the numbers. Let's get my notes out of the way. All right. Dow futures implied open 21 points up. S&P futures implied open 6.75 points up. Both of those unchanged. NASDAQ implied futures open 63.25 points up. Little change. Oil 0.32 down. US 10-year 0.033 down. Very interesting. No real announcements today from anybody. Oh, well, no, you got Jeffries announcing today. Albertsons. Anybody else I'm paying attention to? Dun, 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 dun. Apogee Enterprises is another one. Yeah, there's nobody else on that list that I'm paying attention to. Not much going on today except for Richmond Fed President speak, Fed Governor Stephen Murin speaking. It has a TV appearance at 8:30. S&P final U.S. Services PMI numbers coming out. Crypto Fear and Greed Index dropped from 44 to 42, still in the greed space, but still better than in the 20s that we were just a few days ago. DeFi Llama, we're up about $500 million to $127.477 billion in total value locked. And I didn't add DEX volume and stablecoin market cap. Come on, it shouldn't take that long. There you go. These are the numbers I'm looking for. This is the view that I'm looking for. Right? And you can see things going up. You can see things, how the market is reacting. I want to be higher. I'm going to tell you straight up, I like being above 125. I really like being above 150 in terms of total value locked. Bitcoin, when you look at it, I like to center everything just so you guys can see it. Again, 93,434 is still acting as resistance to Bitcoin. We can't seem to get above that and maintain it. We're still close to it, but we bounced right back down, didn't we? Just saying. Something for us to pay attention to. What's on sale? XRP is down a lot. You have a lot of different things. Do your own research. Know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. Pay attention to what's in your bag. Get with your accounting team so that you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. To me, I see a whole bunch of things that are still on sale. Bitcoin, since it's still under 100,000, still under 95, it's on sale to me. BCH, ETH, BNB, even though it's above 910, I still think it's on sale because it's well below 1,000, right? Solana, if you're into that kind of thing, remember, just a little few days ago, it was in the 120s. Another one, ADA, was at 30. Just saying. Things to pay attention to. XLM, SUI, LTC, Doge, Link, Uniswap. We were talking about that last night. ZEC, if you're into that kind of thing. Hype. Who else is on here? XMR. SUI is another one I'd be looking at. HBAR, ton. So there are a lot of opportunities that I think, would be good for, hey, let me go evaluate that. I've done my research on the ones I just rattled off. There are other ones that I'm not paying attention to. Notice how I tend to stay within the top 50 coins. So if you go right down here, who's in top 50? Aptos is right there. Ondo's real close. Polygon has been dropping but moving up. Another stable coin to pay attention to is definitely going to be this guy right here, Ripple USD. Pay attention to that one. Stable coins do nothing but move up. They don't move down. They do nothing but move up. That's why you want to pay attention to them. And we're just talking about gold. Here's Pax Gold. Here's Tether Gold. Back to back right there. Again, something else to be paying attention to. There's a lot of movement. I still like Aave right here. Why? Because it's the backbone of DeFi. Deeply rooted in DeFi. And some people are like, well, does DeFi, stay around? And I'm like, decentralized finance? Why would you ever think that it would go away? That is a really big question for me. When I hear people doubting a project like Aave and DeFi, I just go, do you really think decentralized finance is going to go away? the idea of not one single entity or group of entities controlling the rails, yeah, I don't think that goes away. That's a hard thing to do. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on Crypto for GrowMyBag.tv. Hope you like what I'm doing. If you do me a favor, smash the likes, tell your friends about this community. It's the only one that actually cares about your education and how you grow your bags. One ship rise, all ships rise. That's why we have a community. If you want to join the community, go to GrowMyBag.tv, become a member. Becoming a bagger is only $1 a month. Right now, $1 a month. I think that's a lot of value. Anyway, everybody, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And as always, thank you for your trust. Me and my team will work for that every day. We'll be back 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the overflow. Thank you so much. Rick Ritchie, you have a good day too. Bye-bye.